Am I bringing us in?
Yeah.
2 minutes later?
Yes.
Do I remember how to do this? Is my camera good?
right.
Okay. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Sisters podcast with a very special guest today.
Yay! OG is back.
Can we speak
guys,
to the
did you miss
colors?
me?
Yes, we did miss you. Of
Red,
course we did.
oh, I was like red, white, and blue. Oh my God.
What's going on? She's so foggy.
Anyway,
What is this, Nicole?
I'm so it's I don't even know. It's just, I was telling you guys, it's been so busy. Work is really busy and all of that stuff. So that's what it is. Anyway, hi guys. Hi friends.
Hi.
So excited to have you back.
I have been.
You've been. Okay.
I have been. As you can see, my background looks a little different. I have now a filing cabinet with all of this stuff because I've expanded my private practice. So I'm really busy seeing private clients now. So I needed an actual office setup.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been fun.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
But you get break soon, so you're able to actually relax.
Hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully. Anyway. Do you want me just to take it away, ladies? You guys can just sit back for once?
Ooh, yeah. We're vibing. You're driving?
She's driving.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay,
yeah.
This is fun.
Okay,
I'm here for it.
Okay. All right, guys. It's the end of a very important chapter of my life. And I'm here to talk about it.
That's sad.
I know.
Am I going to cry?
I don't know. Are you?
Maybe.
All right. I feel like I kind of left everybody hanging, not intentionally, but just stuff was happening, stuff was not happening. And so there just wasn't a lot to talk about for a while. But now there is a lot to talk about. So we're going to just take everybody through the journey of my life the last almost 2.5 years. Yes, actually 2.5 years. 2.5 years. Yeah.
Damn.
Buckle up, babies. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Let's go.
All right. For the ladies, you probably care. For the few male listeners we have, you might not, but but you might, because you might have a woman in your life that might have, be going through the same thing or may go through the same thing at some point. So we're going to talk all about my IVF journey, because there were times that we were talking about it. I'm going to have an egg retrieval, or I just had one. And then it was just kind of like crickets for a while. And the girl that does my hair at one point asked me, did you stop? I said, no, there's just nothing happening. But she was like, it's just, there was so much leading up to it. And then we kind of thought maybe you just stopped the whole process and didn't want to tell anybody. So I kind of wondered if other people felt that too, but that definitely wasn't the case. There was just a lot happening. So I kind of created a timeline. I don't know how accurate, actually, I know it's somewhat accurate, but there's a lot missing because I was trying to go back through my records and stuff, and I just, there was just so much that I missed. So anyway, this is somewhat concise, but also missing a lot.
I love how you're so type A. I love your list.
I don't.
You got prepared for this.
Yeah, I don't think I registered. You're like, I'm putting my timeline together right now, but it's still such a blur. And I was like, what is she talking about? Because right before that, you said your evenings are filled with private clients. I was like, what? So I thought you were prepping for your week, but now that makes a lot of sense. Okay, here for it.
She's type A.
Prepping for my week?
Yeah, I thought you were putting a timeline for what you had going on every day this afternoon since you were so busy and we couldn't record this coming week.
Oh, well, I was doing that too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. IVF journey. Ready? Buckle in. It's going to be a while. Okay. So April, this went all the way back to April of 2023. In April of 2023, I met with some lady doctor, and he was great. He was totally on top of things. And he's like, you know what? You guys haven't gotten pregnant. You've been trying for, I think at that point, maybe 6 months. So he said, let's do exploratory endoscopic procedure just to see what's going on. Let's check the insides, because everything else was looking good. So anyway, they did that, and then I remember coming out of surgery and, all out of it from the anesthesia. And I heard the doctor tell my husband, okay, so she has endometriosis. And I went, uh-oh, that's not good. That was all I remember. I don't remember anything else, but I just remember hearing that and being like, that's not good. So anyway, he basically told my husband, like, you guys need to go straight to IVF because of your age, because you guys are both old. So we said, okay. So we went straight to IVF. So in May of that year, it's like a month later, we had our first appointment with our IVF doctor. And, you kind of go into it, I don't know, like excited, but also scared and nervous. And I just remember how different I felt, that first appointment compared to how I felt a year later or 2 years later. It was just a very, very different feeling. I remember seeing couples and they're all happy and thinking like, oh, this is probably their first appointment. They have no idea what they're in for. So that happened in May. Sometime in June or July, they had us do genetic testing. So they recommended you do genetic testing to see if there are any, like they basically want to make sure that the two parents don't carry any of the same like abnormalities, because that would make things a lot more difficult to conceive, or like possible genetic defects. Luckily, I think we each only had 4 and like none of them were the same. So they were like, okay, cool, you guys are good. Like there's nothing that's showing that's going to be an issue when we do genetic testing later. And I remember us being in, oh gosh, we were in Spain that summer. So we took like a 3-week trip, I think. And that was the last big trip we went on because of IVF. So we got our results when we were there, and, still kind of excited, kind of scared. I've kind of talked about it a little bit. I kind of went kicking and screaming into IVF, like didn't want to do it. Like the cost of it scared me. And the whole process frightened me, and I just didn't want to do it. So we get back in late July, early August. So then we're gearing up to do our first egg retrieval that September. Well, during that time, I had also quit my job at the county, that like crazy job that I hated. And it actually lined up to where egg retrieval was going to be that first week of me being unemployed, because I was waiting for another job to come in. And so we did the egg retrieval. So egg retrieval, for anybody that's ever done it, it is a process. And if you haven't done it, it's a process. There are so many injections that you have to do. One of them hurts so bad, it burns like crazy. And you're doing it for, oh my gosh, like 7 to 10 days, something like that. So we were doing injections in the morning, we were doing injections in the evening, taking different pills. I was having to go to get lab work every so many days, having to do scans because they want to see if the follicles are growing, because that's where they're pulling the eggs from. So anyway, it was just a lot of that. And I remember like being like, oh, this is fine, because I wasn't working. So I could make the drive. It took me about like 45 minutes one way. So it's like, oh, this is fine. I'm not working. I got nothing else to do. And then we did the retrieval, and we got 6 eggs from there. So this is one thing I didn't know. So it's a process. So you have to retrieve the eggs, and then they have to take the sperm sample and see if any of the eggs fertilize. And then from there, they have to see how many of them make it past a certain stage. So I think it needs to be 5 to 6 days. They need to actually progress and grow. And then for the ones that progress and grow, then they have to go to be genetically tested to see if they're going to be viable or not. So in that retrieval process, we had 6 mature eggs, which means that they could be fertilized. However, none of them fertilized. So then we had 0. We had nothing. And this is where things got a little bit foggy, because we didn't do anything again until February of 2024, and I don't know why. And I couldn't go back through the records to remember like why we had taken that much time off. You know what? I think we just said, let's get through the holidays, because October, November, December are really busy. So we just said, let's get through the holidays and then we'll wait. So then we did our second round in February of 2024. I don't remember how many eggs we got. Maybe like 3 or 4, something like that. So 3 of those progressed. They were able to be tested. And from that genetic testing, we had 1 viable embryo that would be able to be used, at a later time. So I said, okay, cool. So then we did a 3rd round in April of 2024. And we didn't get any embryos from that. I don't even remember how many eggs we retrieved. Mind you, these are low numbers. So some people are getting like 20 eggs from a cycle. I was getting like 6 or 3. Like I wasn't getting a lot. So that in itself was already kind of setting us back a little bit. And then, so then we didn't have any. So we said, okay, let's try to see if we could get 1 more embryo. Like we want to try, because otherwise we just have 1. And transfers aren't always successful. So we wanted to have, like options and a backup in case that happened. So that morning, mind you, every time we do this, there's those 7 to 10 days of injections. And when you're doing that, you're on so many restrictions. You can't, just so many restrictions. I couldn't go to the gym. So I think for most of that year, I had canceled my gym membership because you can't work out for like 2 weeks prior, and then you can't work out for like another 2 weeks after. And since they were all happening so close, I was like, well, I'm not going to pay for this or keep putting it on hold because there's so many restrictions that you have. So then June comes, and, again, I had been doing all these appointments, these scans every morning, every other morning, blood work. I think I have, maybe it's gone now. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I have a permanent, like, injection mark from like how much blood they took. Luckily, I have very good veins, so they always love that. But anyway, the morning we get there, so leading up to it, I had 3 follicles. The morning we get there, the doctor did a scan and said, hey, sometime between yesterday and today, like you must have ovulated and you lost a follicle, so you only have 2, which means you only have the opportunity to possibly retrieve 2 eggs. What do you want to do? Do you want to postpone this, or do you want to just proceed? And I was so over it at that point. And, we had already spent, so each round of medication was like $5,000 just for medication. That's not even the surgical fee, the doctor fee, like everything else. So I said, we already spent all this money. We're going to have to do this again. Like, I don't know if like physically I'm up for this. So we did it. And we didn't get any embryos at that point. So then moved to July, so the very next month. And they want me to do MRIs and some procedures called like a hysteroscopy, where they want to check to basically see what your uterus looks like. Like, is it going to be a good home for an embryo? And they found that I had a polyp in there. So they said, okay, well, now we have to like go in and remove this polyp. So during that time, my MRI was not showing that I had endometriosis, which was weird because that was what the doctor had said a year before. The blood work was indicating potential endometriosis, but they couldn't see it in either of the procedures. So they were like, well, this doesn't make sense. Like, you have a history of it. The doctor has seen it, but like these other two procedures are showing nothing, but your blood work is indicating that you might. So like things just weren't adding up, and they weren't quite sure why. And then, okay, so that was July. They also had to do something during that time where they're trying to like put water up in there, and it hurts so bad. So that was happening before, and you're awake. Like nothing's like, for that, you're just kind of awake the whole time.
And this is 2024, right?
This is 2024, my year from hell. I've talked about this before, how 2024 was like literally
seems like it would be
the hardest. Girl, we're not even done. Yes, it was awful.
Gosh.
So then all of this on top of like just not even being able to like exercise in the way that I like to, like for my mental health, for my anxiety, for my stress relief, right? Like I couldn't do any of that. So then you add all of that on top of it. Okay, so luckily this is all happening in the summer because I wasn't working in the summer. So that was really helpful. That kind of worked out. to where we could do a lot of those things during that time. I think so. From the beginning, probably starting in 2024 up until recently, they had me like off and on birth control pills for like months at a time. And they had me only taking the active pills. And for the girlies that know, the active pills are the ones that basically, like, if you take only the active, it's going to suppress you having an actual cycle. So that's what they were doing in hopes of trying to like manipulate my body to do the things that they wanted it to do. And it was just awful. It was just like nonstop spotting for like months at a time. It was awful. I was just like, this is horrible. I can't be like intimate with my husband because I'm gross. I don't want to go in the pool and it's summertime because I just don't feel good. Like, it just wasn't fun. So this is all happening. So finally, the end of July, they said, okay, well, your blood test is showing, so it's called a CA-125. It basically is like the marker to see for things like cervical cancer, endometriosis, things like that. So that marker was, they wanted to be under 35. And I don't remember what it was at that point, but basically I said, okay, well, we want to bring it down. So now you need to do this other injection every 28 days. And they don't like to do it for more than 2 cycles at once because it basically puts your body into premenopause. They have to do the injection and like the muscle like in your butt, which hurts so bad. And you have to wait at the doctor's office to make sure you don't have any weird side effects. So anyways, I had to do that twice. I had to do that back to back. And I would wake up in like night sweats because it was like putting you into premenopause, right? So that was happening. And then the numbers went down a little bit, but not a lot. They're like, okay, well, this is just probably what your body's going to do. Like, we don't really know like what else to do. So then they were like, you know, your MRI is showing everything's good. The procedure we did showing everything is good. But it's just this blood test, but we're not going to worry about it too much because it's not significantly higher than what we want it to be. I was like, all right, cool. So then in September, yes, that was like July, August where they were doing all that. In September, the doctor's like, hey, so you're like way too fat now to have a baby. And I was like, yeah, I agree. Because I had put on like 40 pounds from the time that I started IVF in May of 2023 to that point. So mind you, from May of 2023, so I guess we could probably say more like September. So in a year I had put on like 40 pounds. And I think it was all the injections, the lack of exercise, the depression. Like, I've been very like vocal about how I think I was like clinically depressed during that time just because of everything that was going on. So I was like, yeah, I agree. Like, this is crazy. I have never weighed this much except for when I was like a week away from giving birth to my son. Like, this is crazy. So he's like, okay, well, like, let's work on that. Let's get your weight down. I was like, all right, cool. And so during that time, he said, okay, well, go see an endocrinologist. And I was like, all right. So I went to go see an endocrinologist and she put me on a GLP-1. And it was fucking amazing. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to be able to get back on a GLP-1. I didn't have an appetite. I was losing so much weight, but I did also start going back to the gym. So at that point, I had started going back to the gym and I was like, oh yes, cool. Like, I can move my body. This is like fantastic. Loved it. Highly recommend it. I think it can be kind of expensive, but I had like HSA funds, like paid for everything. What are you laughing at, Brianna?
I just love the fact that you're like, I fucking loved it.
It was amazing. I highly recommend it for anybody and everybody.
It gets so much hate, but I'm like, I guess if it works for you, it works for you, you know?
It gets so much hate because I think people are like, oh, it's like the lazy way. But like, honestly, like, it wasn't because I was being lazy. It was because like I had a goal and like I didn't know that I could even do it. Like, I didn't have any health issues, right? So I was like, well, I don't know. Like,
they hand it out like candy now. So, I mean, Costco's selling it for half off.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So it was like $500 a month and then $500. And then when you get up to like a certain dosage, it was like $1,000. And that's when I was like, well, I don't have that money anymore. So anyway, what was the other thing about it? Oh, so they had started me on like the lowest dose. It was Zepbound, and it was 2.5 milligrams of Zepbound. And they said, oh, usually like people don't start like seeing any results until maybe like week 4. I started seeing results so quickly on that like low dose that I lost like 17 pounds in 2 months. And I was like, oh, this is like fantastic. So then they were like, okay, cool. Like you're where you need to be. And I was like, no, because I know once I get off it, and if they have to start me on that injection again, like I need more wiggle room, because I already know that injection's gonna like, I'm gonna tack on weight with that injection, and like I just want more wiggle room. So I talked to the doctor and I said, give me until like April, because then they said once you get off the medication, you need to let it leave your body for about 2 months before we can do anything. So I said, okay, give me till April. Let me see what I can do. Let me just lose more weight, and then we're good, because they had already had an idea that they were going to put me back on that injection. I was like, all right, let's do what I can. So anyway, I think I lost like almost like 30 pounds in that time period. And mind you, I was going back to the gym too. So I was like being active again and like all of that. I just like wasn't hungry. So sometimes I'd have to like force myself to eat. So come April, I go back to IVF. They check my CA-125 level. So remember, I said they wanted to be under a 35. It was at a 17. So I was like, oh, cool. And they're like, okay, maybe we don't need to do the injection. So they're doing all their tests and everything. Come May, the next month, my CA-125 was up at a 42. From a 17 to a 42. We have no idea what happened, why it jumped so high. So then they said, okay, well, let's keep monitoring you. The next month, it was down to a 34. No idea how it got down. Like they don't know what's happening. They had to do another hysteroscopy, which they put you to sleep for, just to kind of go in and like see what's happening. And I think they thought maybe there was like a polyp that needed to be removed, but then they went in and like, I guess they didn't see anything. I don't know. I never really was quite sure what happened with that. Like they didn't really give an update. Then I had to do another MRI. And I swear this MRI like almost made me just say like, fuck it, I'm not doing this anymore. Because it was just a thing trying to schedule with the fucking office. And then it was like, we show up to the office, a 45-minute drive on a Saturday or Sunday. I think they said we could go on that day. We get there, they're like, oh, like, I don't know why they scheduled you to do this, because we don't have a doctor on site to administer the contrast. So we can't even do this today. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, we just drove all this way on a weekend. It was in the summer. It was hotter than hot out there. And I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, all of these things have been happening, like all these roadblocks. Like, what if this means that I like shouldn't do this? Like, is this just my body? Like, are these all signs that my body like can't do this? And do we need to now look into having a surrogate, because we only have one embryo, and like that's it. We have one shot or like nothing. And I just remember like being in tears that day. We had to go to his family's house for something, and I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I just stayed in bed and like cried all day. I was just so over it. I finally got to do that MRI at like 8 p.m. one night, at like at the same place, but like I didn't get home till almost 10 p.m. because it took forever. And I was like, I didn't even know these places stayed open that late, but apparently they do. So then at that time they said, okay, well now we're going to put you on that injection again for another month. We're going to see if your level can come down. So they did it, and so mind you, it was already at a 34. They like it to be 35 or below, but they're like, let's see if we can get it down more. And then at the end of it, I was back up. I was at a 37. So like, okay, we're done with this. We're not going to do it anymore. I think this is just the way your body like works, and like, you know, we're not going to touch it anymore. I was like, okay, cool. And I know that I'm missing some other stuff in here, but this is kind of like what I remember and what I was able to gather from like my records. So come July of 2025, we're just doing lab work. And again, I wasn't working, thank goodness. So I was making that drive every single morning to get my blood work and to have them do the scan to see what the insides look like, right? Basically, they're saying like, we want to make sure that that your uterus is a good home, that like there's nothing going on. We want you to have like a thick lining so that way it has like something to attach to. And I was like, all right, cool. So again, my labs and my scans were not saying the same thing. My scans were showing that everything was looking good, but my labs were showing like it wasn't matching up. So the doctor came in and he's like, he called me a medical enigma. He's like, I don't know like what's happening because there's no reason for your labs to be so off compared to your scans. Like, we need to watch this a little bit more. And I was like, all right, of course. So during this time too, I'm on more medications, more injections, more pills. And for them to be like, we don't know, we might need to wait another month. I was like, all right, cool. So finally, towards the end of that month, they said, okay, this was so dumb. Your labs are showing that everything's good now. We think there was an issue in like the transportation from our office to the laboratory, and we think that that the results we were getting were an error because now everything is showing that it's perfect. So they were like, they thought something happened in the transportation. I was like, what the fuck? So anyway, so that was all of that. Do you guys have any questions yet?
No, you were just getting tested to fucking high hell.
No, yeah, I think one time I went in, luckily it was usually a vial or two. One time I went in, I think I counted 13 vials. And I was like, oh, that was a lot of blood.
Lucky number 13.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I would vomit.
It was a lot. So
Mhm.
then they finally call me and they're like, okay, we're good. We can schedule a transfer. And I was like, all right. Oh, back up. So anyway, so in July of 2024, when we were talking about like everything that happened, the nurse tells me, oh, well, you actually have this other embryo. It's called a mosaic. And in the past years, we didn't transfer mosaics, but we've since done enough, or like, just not them specifically, but like science and like research has kind of learned a lot that mosaics can be transferred. They're basically kind of like self-correcting. So they said you actually now have 2 embryos you can use. One is like a good viable embryo. The other one is this mosaic. So you kind of have a backup. I think that one came from the third retrieval. And my second and third retrieval were the good ones. So then they said, okay, we can do the transfer. Like, all right, cool. So they scheduled the transfer for that Monday morning. It was a Monday morning. They give you a Valium, which is kind of fun. So I had a nice little Valium, and but they didn't have me take it until too late, so it didn't kick in until after the procedure. And on the car ride home, I just knocked out, and then I just remember like going to get some coffee after, which I didn't know I wasn't supposed to drink, but I went and got some coffee and stuff, and I just remember I was just like, just say whatever I want. And we're walking by some people in a certain city, and I told my husband, insert city people they're fucking weird. So we're like walking out and he's just like, oh my god. Because anti-anxiety, you just say whatever you want. It was a lot of fun though. So anyway, then I got put on house arrest for that period of time because it's not bed rest, but just like house arrest. They don't want you like doing anything or going anywhere. You have to wait 10 days after an embryo transfer to find out whether or not it was successful, because again, a lot of times, or not a lot of times, but they are not always successful. And I made the mistake of Googling and seeing, how many of those are failed. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the odds are not very good. And especially as you get older. So after the age of 35, the rates of transfer are really low. And I remember asking the doctor, so like, what's the plan? I only have 2 embryos. I have 1 viable embryo. I have 1 mosaic embryo. Like, I'm reading that transfer rates are not always very successful. Like, what are we going to do? He's like, well, we're just going to hope for the best. I was like, all right. So medically, that was my advice. We're hoping for the best. So in that time, I had to wait and wait and wait and wait. And I wasn't working yet still. So it's not like I had work or anything to distract me. So that's where we're at now. Any questions?
No, like this is a lot on the emotional body.
All right, guys, tune in next week and I'll tell you the rest.
Oh Lord.
I said this is the end of a journey, so end of a chapter. End of a chapter? End of a chapter of my life.
End of an era? No.
End of an era.
Mm.
A
I would say it's an
chapter.
era. Chapter, era. I don't know. With how significant it is, I would say it's an era.
We're closing a chapter. So anyway, they say not to take pregnancy tests during that time because the likelihood of them being inaccurate is very high because of all of the injections that you've had up until that point. Oh, and then we started injections at that time again too. I don't even know how many injections I've had. We've had so many. My husband's like really good at injecting now. He's like, I'm a pro. He's not even a doctor, but he could be.
It's a good thing you're not scared of needles.
No. And I didn't do them. Like I was like, you're going to have to do this for me. So I had to start these injections. They said, okay, you're going to have to do these injections for, if everything goes well, you're going to have to do it up until you're 10 weeks, which would have been, how many days are in a week? 7 days in a week times 6 weeks. What is that? 42? 42 days? So it would have been 42 days in a row of these injections. So I was like, all right. And they're in your butt, in the muscle, and they hurt. So anyway, I had to wait 10 days to have my blood test. Around day 4 after my transfer, I was like I'm already moody, but I was like so irritable one day. I like snapped at my son for like nothing. And I was like, oh my God, I think I'm pregnant because I'm so mean right now, like meaner than normal. And I was like, okay, well, like you still got to wait another week, And then I was having a lot of cramping, but because of all the medications, you're taking estrogen and progesterone, and I think one more, I can't remember, but like you can just cramp. So I was like, okay, well that means nothing. Like cramping means nothing. So I went to get my blood test at 10 weeks. Sorry, 10 days. And they said, okay, well, this one you got to wait. You got to wait for the results. It's not like you get it right then and there. You have to wait for them to go to the lab and you have to wait a few hours. And she's like, did you cheat? Did you take any at-home tests? And I was like, no, I totally did. I had bought some, like I bought 2 different test types and I was taking a test like every day that week to see if there was, if anything came up and just kind of like trying to see if there was any difference. So later that day, the doctor calls me and he tells me that I'm pregnant.
Yay!
Surprise! I bet you guys didn't know.
You drug it on. You went all sad on us, and then you brought out the good news.
Yeah, you guys kept asking, and I was just like, because I again, it's such a sensitive period of time, right? And then with like you can be pregnant, but I mean, we all know how high miscarriage rates can be under those 13 weeks, right? And there's just a lot of factors. So anyway, so from that point, I had to just more doctor's appointments, more blood work every couple days. So they have to check your HCG levels to see if it's rising before they can detect a heartbeat. That's how you can tell if the pregnancy is progressing. So I had to go in to do that. And it kept going up. And then they said, okay, we're going to check for heartbeat at week 6. They checked for the heartbeat. And then again, still weekly appointments, lots of scans, lots of blood work. I did have some spotting during that time, and that was pretty scary. But, and then they have me on baby aspirin. So I think they thought it was like the baby aspirin because it like thins the blood. So eventually they took me off the baby aspirin and then it stopped. They like you to graduate the IVF clinic at 10 weeks. But I had to stay longer because of everything that was going on.
Why does this not surprise me?
Because nothing ever...
You anomaly.
Anomaly.
I am. I'm such a medical anomaly. He called me an enigma, a medical enigma. And so I didn't graduate the IVF clinic until I think week 12. week 12. And then that's when we find, so the injections that were supposed to stop at week 10 didn't stop until like week 12. So I had to keep doing those awful injections. And now we're having a little baby.
Yay.
I'm so excited.
Are you sharing gender and date of arrival? No.
Tune in for that one, guys.
No, so when this comes out, I'm gonna post on Instagram. So go ahead and check out Instagram. Whatever day this comes out, we'll have to coordinate.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you guys to vote what you think it is for your girl. And
And
then we'll see what
it's
people
not like
guess.
our
And then
shirts
maybe-
give it away.
I was gonna say, look at our shirts, guys.
It was not planned, by the way.
Not planned.
Not planned.
It
You guys
just
are
so
funny.
happened.
So yeah, then we'll do a test and we'll see what people think, and then maybe
We'll share.
you know, a couple days later we'll share. Well, not
Mhm.
maybe, we will share, but we'll wait a little bit.
So,
I'm so excited. I'm so happy for you guys.
yeah, this
Yeah.
is a journey, a voyage for sure.
For
You know-
damn sure.
People don't talk about it, and that I think is like what makes it so hard. You know, I only knew one other person before that did it, and they did IUI, and so I had like a little bit of information, but not a lot because the two processes are so different. So I was like, okay, yeah, like some of it makes sense, but some of it was very different. And anyway, but I'm in very good company because Manifestation Babe is pregnant. Callie Girardi, my favorite astronaut, is pregnant. She had her transfer a week after I did. And oh gosh, who else was pregnant? There was like a lot of good announcements. I remember being like, ooh, like I'm in a good club right now.
Mm-hmm.
Did
You
guys see
really
what
are.
email?
I was also thinking, I was like, damn, Jupiter in Cancer. And it's so interesting, not that this is about me or anything like that, but I remember when our uncle had passed, almost, 3 years ago now, you guys. He had come through and he was
Oh.
like, get really excited because there's a lot of babies coming to the family. And lo and behold,
Mhm.
it's exactly what happened. And then when you told us, there was a little hummingbird, and that's his symbol,
Oh,
his
yeah.
design. Yeah. So
I remember from a long time ago too. There was, I guessed it too, that sisters were going to be pregnant.
I think I guessed that
Mhm.
one, but yes.
No, that was me.
Yes. That was me.
It was
I
both
ge-
of
hang
you.
on. Well, okay, I'll give you this. You said sisters would be pregnant, but I guessed the sisters.
You guessed the sisters correctly. I did say that, but I was like, who's it gonna be? And then
I knew.
yeah, so it's really exciting.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I
Yay.
got.
That's all she got. Well, I'm super excited that you're sharing on the podcast. I feel like it's full
I
circle.
know. I'm sure everybody's going to be so excited as well
Yeah.
too, because they've been with you. I mean, not in full detail, but you've dropped little, not Easter eggs, but you dropped hints here and there about IVF and your entire journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
I feel
all
like
with ya.
I needed to update everybody because they were probably like, "Oh, what happened to that bitch? Where'd she go? And what's going on with her?"
She just said, F everyone. Catch you later.
I just got so busy. I got so busy. I was trying to like get my business going, and then getting private practice going, and then work, and
Yeah.
yeah.
How exciting. It all ended up being worth it.
Another
I-
little baby.
I just want to highlight that Anna from the Soul Ecosystem podcast
Shout out.
did a year ahead, not a year ahead. What did she do? Yeah, 2025 back in December.
Mm-hmm.
And she did 4 messages maybe. And one of them she talked about getting pregnant at the end of, towards the second half of the year. And she was like, I think that was like for you
Mm-hmm.
specifically. And I remember being like, God, but like towards the end of the year, like second half, like, God, I have to keep waiting, you know? And yeah, she was right. And then I did a year ahead reading with Angelica Ray, and I listened to it. I think, like right after I found out. And in there, she said, August seems like a good month for you to be pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out the first week in August. So shout out those 2 ladies. They were spot on.
Yeah. So
Literally spot on.
Yeah.
So now you can keep us updated online, Nicole, of your journey. But also, you're going to be
Yeah.
pregnant during like the best month because
Yeah,
I
you don't have to deal with the summer. Ugh, God, when I was pregnant during the summer, I'm so glad I had AC. I would have been awful.
Mhm.
yeah,
It was
Awful.
hard going back to work in August because that's when it's like been the most hot and humid.
yeah,
But I was like, you know what? This is okay because like I'm still like really barely pregnant. Like, I wasn't showing like nothing like that. So I was like, this is fine. Like this isn't a big deal. I don't feel any different.
hmm
I probably just started feeling different recently, and it's fine because it's cooling down now.
It's all right.
I
When
don't
I
mind
saw
it.
you yesterday, you were getting a little bumping going on.
Yeah, it depends on the day. It depends on the time of day too. Like today I don't feel like it's there as much. But like tomorrow it might be back. Like it just depends. There's no like rhyme or reason.
yeah. Well,
Usually 5 p.m. though, like when I've been eating like all day, it's like, oh, like it's not even like a baby belly, it's just a food belly.
yeah.
But you can't like suck it in. It's like, oh, it doesn't go anywhere. Just stays there. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it hang then.
hmm
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing. How exciting!
Yeah.
Yay!
Follow the
Until
journey.
next time, you can
Catch you later.
show up and tell us how it's all going when the baby's here.
I'll come and I'll nurse on camera.
Hell yeah. Free the nipples, guys.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.